Hi, everybody, and welcome once again to the Friel Thing podcast with me, Greg Friel. Ladies and gentlemen, I am joined by a man who has, I don't know, over the lockdown period has become something of a legend, a myth, if you will. I'm talking about the one and only Colin Shaw, ladies and gentlemen. Colin Shaw.
Hello.
Well, that's sound
Myth,
effects.
legend. Wow.
Absolutely. How are you, sir? Welcome.
I'm very well, thank you. Good to be here. Thank you for inviting me along.
Sure, my pleasure, my pleasure. Quick 30 seconds on who you are and what it is you do.
Okay, so I'm Colin Shaw. I suppose this very simple way of explaining what I do is I create bespoke holidays for the discerning traveller. Is the very, very simple way of doing what I do. So basically I'm a retail travel agent in the traditional sense, but more importantly, and the bit that I find more fun, is that I'm also a tour operator, and that allows me to create the bespoke aspects of the holidays. So that's what I do, bespoke travel for the discerning traveller.
Now, obviously I know you rather well, Colin, so I'm familiar with your excessive travelling over the over the years. We're normally competing with each other on various networking things to outdo one another with people that we've met in exotic locations,
Right.
etc.
Yeah. That's not
Yeah.
that's not
So
part of it, but really is it? It's
no, not at all. We're not competing at all. You'd win, absolutely, hands down. Actually, just for the viewers at
you
home,
want to do it, do you? Okay.
no. Let's just go. Let's just think of, I don't know. Give me your top three exotic locations, ridiculously famous or well known or whatever exotic people that you've met along your travels.
Along my travels, not that many. Actually, a lot of it was to do with my former hobby, but I suppose top of the list was I was in Langkawi in Malaysia, which is a
Let's just say
lovely
never even heard of it.
destination.
Okay, right.
Do you know it? No.
No. Oh
Ah,
God, no.
okay. It's one of the islands off the west coast of northern Malaysia,
Right.
and I'd gone there, couldn't get into the accommodation I wanted to stay in, and I was put into a sister property, and the reason was because Nelson Mandela was on the island, and I actually met Nelson Mandela, and I shook the man's hand, and I haven't washed it since. You know, it's like
Understandable. Understand. Okay.
it's not something
And
that you
so is
expect.
that
It's
not?
so bizarre, isn't it?
I was just gonna say, if that is that your top three in your top three. I
That
mean,
that is the very top.
I was just gonna say surely that's number
That
one
is
because that's.
that is the very top.
See,
Because
I would have started with something else and then worked up to that.
no, because actually, if I'm being truly honest and talk about saying I've met such and such or I've been introduced to such and such, the rest of those really I'm pretty sure were all done through my when I used to sing. It's not through I can't
Sorry,
through
you just
travel
dropped this in here. When you
specifically.
used to sing.
Yeah. But that was a hobby. It was
No. Let's not call it a hobby. Let's call it
I used to
what it
sing.
is.
I
You
used
used
to
to sing.
sing.
What did you used to sing,
I used
Colin?
to sing with the City of Glasgow chorus. So let's not. We're not talking about your level of singing, and
My
it's
level of
and,
obscurity.
s-
No,
and
right.
certainly never a solo. Dear God, no. I wouldn't inflict that upon the world. But I
Right.
said,
Okay.
don't do it now. I gave up a few years ago, and so because of that, I've then met or come across a number of different, obviously, famous people because that has allowed you to be in that sort of environment.
Did you know? Had you like sung with Jose Carreras or somebody like that? Was there
So the
to sing?
the choir sang with Jose Correas.
See, I'm trying to build it up, and you keep
Yeah,
underselling
well,
it,
I
Colin. You
do.
keep going, no,
I'll
it was
always
just the choir.
I'll always
I was,
undersell.
I was
No,
driving the bus. I mean,
no.
come on.
I'll always undersell because I'm not that person to be out front and want to be the centre of attention in that
Right.
respect. So, no, that's not me. Sorry, if that's what you want, you're not going to get
No,
that.
no, no,
It's
no,
not gonna.
absolutely not.
It's not me because I was one of 100
Uh,
people.
to be serious for a second,
But
and
the
you'll
Nelson
laugh at
Mandela
this.
one is very different.
No, that's a, no,
That was
that's a
very
completely
different.
different thing.
Yes.
No, that's a completely different thing. No, but to be serious for a second, I'm somebody who, if I was involved in something, I'll talk about it, yeah, but I will say specifically what my involvement was in it and credit absolutely everybody who was involved in it. Because that's the one thing that I've hated over the years is other people taking credit for things that I've done and not mentioning me at all. So I know what that feels like. So I'll kind of go the other way and mention, like absolutely everybody, like somebody who held the door open for me when I walked into the studio at the time, things like that.
Yeah.
I just think credit where credit's due. I think it's rather, it's just
Well,
the right thing.
that singing in a choir is very much an ensemble thing with a choir and an
Yes.
orchestra, and that's the whole nature of it. And it was very enjoyable for the 20 odd years I did it. But that was the past, and I mean, and then if I'm going to go into name other names. Way back when I was a young man, I used to be a waiter at the Hilton Hotel. So I worked in the travel industry during the day, and at night time I was a waiter at the Hilton in the banqueting area. So you met people there, Richard Branson, various members of the royal family, various members of politicians, prime ministers, and I served them dinner. A great claim to fame, but then got to talk to them,
Yeah.
and often was introduced to them afterwards, after you've actually been through that. So, it's not like I got to know any of them.
No. But even spending time with these kind of people, how well are you really going to know them? But I think this is the thing with people who work in travel and tourism, hospitality events. That there's that cross section of experience that quite a lot of people have. Whether they've worked in as waiting staff or that kind of thing, where it's front facing and dealing with customers and people face to face, and I think that kind of experience is invaluable going forward. This got really serious all of a sudden. What the hell was that?
Yeah.
So and then going forward, you've got that experience, and you can draw on that experience for for everything that you're doing. How invaluable was that experience? Your formative years in terms of going into what you're doing now.
I think actually my upbringing was more about how I am and how I am now more than anything. If I'm honest with you, brought up in a family that we were always included. The kids, so my brother and I have an elder brother. We were always part of the family. We weren't the kind of family where the kids had to be quiet or put in another room when people were around.
Right.
We were always part of it, part of the conversations. So actually, I think that was probably more to do with it. Because I then jumped.
Your question was shit, Greg. Why did you even ask that?
No, not at all. Not at all. Because I've always been in the travel industry, so it's not like my formative. I've done loads of things before I was in the travel industry. I literally left school and went into the travel industry, so I've always been part of that. But because of that, always being around adults, I was able to communicate.
Right. So being able to communicate on that level.
Yes. So always be able to hold a conversation. That was never an issue. The only thing that freaked me out when I first started was answering the phone, because then I was being listened to by other people, and that was a kind of strange thing. But that was the days of key and lamp phones. It wasn't anything modern that we have nowadays. And so that, but otherwise, I would talk to people no problem.
So what was your first job? Was it working in a hotel or a restaurant?
No,
like that?
working in a retail travel agency. So we booked in our local
right.
travel agency a holiday to go to America, and whilst we were away, the travel agency decided they wanted to start a junior. And I used to go, but these are the days you went into the travel agent every Saturday morning, to find the update of what was happening, because we didn't have email and that kind of thing, communication either in those days, because we're going back to 1983. And so you used to go in and find out what's the next part of the holiday that's been booked and what the arrangements are. And I used to go with my parents to do that. And then to say they were advertising for a junior, and they'd let my grandmother live with us, and they'd let my grandmother know that they were advertising in case we had stopped the local paper, which she used to do. Go to the newsagent and stop the paper when you're not away. And just said if Colin was interested, it might be something he might want to apply for. And I came back and I applied and got the job. And that's literally how I fell into the industry.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a plan. It wasn't a burning ambition.
But presumably, though, that's you developed your love from it. From that.
Well, I'd taken the interest in going along every week. It's not that my parents just said, right, we're going to America and this is what you're doing. I was part of the process. My brother didn't come with us. He was a bit older, so he was wanting to work. So I was part of that process and part of the bringing the holiday together as a package. So I clearly took an interest in it. And I think they maybe had just recognised that maybe because I did talk and have conversations and could present myself, that maybe I would be somebody that would be suitable for the role. So I literally fell into it. But what an industry to fall into.
Mm-hmm. So how old were you when you first travelled abroad then?
First time I ever travelled abroad, I was a child. We did Ibiza, 1971 maybe, something 70, 71, 70, 71 I
Hmm.
think. And then the following year we took the two grandmas with us to Mallorca. I had my two grandmothers with us. And then we didn't travel abroad at all as a family until we went to America in 1983. So it was a big gap through all those years. We did lots of trips in the UK with another
Hmm.
family, and great, great experiences, great fun doing that. And then my first trip um, in the travel industry when I was 18, and I went to Minorca on my own, my first holiday on my own,
Hmm.
and loved it. It was great. So traveling on my own is something that I've always done, and
All right. Okay.
I've only a couple of times, other than work trips, where you're with a group or I'm
Hmm.
taking a group away. Other than work things, I've normally travel on my own. I've only twice have I ever been with anybody else.
Have you done that interrailing kind of thing, or the sort of a summer across Europe kind of the sort of traditional backpacking thing, or has it always been a bit
No,
more 4 star and above?
no. Well, yeah, because I literally left school and went into travel. Then you're not going to go in interrail and backpack. You're,
Hmm.
you know, you're. I've been lucky, great. Great. I've had the most amazing places to stay. I've stayed in some fantastic hotels because when you
Right.
go and you are the travel agent and you're representing your business, they tend to put you up in nice hotel, nice accommodation, um, and the interrailing was about probably the only backpacking thing that anybody ever did
Yeah.
back in those early 80s. The traveling around the world backpacking wasn't really a thing, and neither was a gap year. Wasn't really a
Hmm.
thing. It's certainly not when I was brought up. It was never a thing. So it never was ever part of anything that ever. I never knew anybody that backpacked. I never knew anybody that did a year out before going from school to university. So I was just lucky.
So 18, that journey started really, and you were traveling all over. Yeah.
And then traveling fairly regularly thereafter. I do have years or gaps when I don't do any trips or go away. I
Hmm.
mean, it's not that a lot of my traveling has been done um, a number of years ago, partly because in those days you would get the discounts. Airlines would give you seats and hotels would give you rooms, and off you went.
Yeah.
That slowly but surely, dissipated, and to do it on a regular basis, because the travel industry is such small margins, people would imagine that
Yeah. Yeah.
you earn a lot of money. You don't really earn a lot of money. It's about volume of business, and you therefore you can't necessarily afford to travel a lot. And bearing in mind, I'm single, I live alone, I've got my own flat, my own car, all my expenses have to come out. I don't have a second
Yeah.
income because that, sadly, second income can make the difference between the luxuries and no luxuries. But I have been lucky to have travelled a lot because of work.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, because I mean, obviously, the travel industry's been massively affected
Because of
because
COVID.
of COVID.
Huge.
It's been insane. Um, but the thing that I do have to mention though is that right at the start of lockdown, you did what all the best travel agents do: is you were on LinkedIn and you were saying, okay, this is what the latest situation is, and being informative and sharing that, that knowledge and awareness of what the current situation was. Because it was just ever changing, and even now it's still
Constant.
evolving all the time. But what happened to you just March last year? What happened?
Well, we could see it happening perhaps a little earlier because geographically, as the virus was heading from Asia and coming west effectively, you could bookings across the business were getting cancelled. So we knew it was going to happen at some point. Certainly not to the degree though of locking the country down that we did. That was more drastic than anybody had thought, and was never something that in the travel industry we would have thought would ever happen. We've always thought, what's the worst case scenario, and that was
Mm-hmm.
never one. And we're not the only industry that we've worked on that basis. But for me personally, it just meant really just taking every single booking that I had and logically working through them and cancelling them down and refunding every single penny. that you could give back. And that includes
So
any money that you've
complete
earned
nightmare.
yourself. Anything that I'd already earned and was in my
Hmm.
bank, I had to give back too. So, you know, but and that makes it sound as if I'm hard done to, and I'm not, because I think in the travel industry as a whole has been very poorly supported by the government in terms of support and startup for coming as we're heading out of this. Um, but as an individual, I'm not that hard done by. I was lucky. My business isn't the biggest business in the world. It's fantastic, solid, really good repeat business. So I could afford to not have bookings coming in. Bigger businesses, people with larger incomes in travel
Mm.
counsellors and even in other companies, would suffer more because they would see such a dramatic drop and would
Yeah.
affect their cash flow in a more dramatic way. So I've been lucky in that respect as well. But it has meant that for the most part there has been no business
Hmm.
because nobody's been able to book a holiday really with any um, sense of security and knowing that you'll be able to go or get your money back should you not.
I think that's the thing that's so frustrating as well, is that I mean my wife loves to always have, at least one holiday booked in advance. And everybody likes to, have a holiday booked and know that, okay, we've got that to look forward to.
Hmm.
And I think that's probably been one of the toughest things psychologically to deal with as well. I mean, obviously we're dealing with very serious issues and health matters, but I think just the limitations, that it's we don't know when you're going to be able to do that, and not just travel, but everything is kind of like you're going day to day. Maybe if we're lucky, week to week, and that's the thing that I think's really been difficult, is not being able to plan things.
The uncertainty it kills people, and I don't have any more information than anybody else
Hmm.
really has. We don't get any secret information being passed from the government to the travel industry to give us a pre-warning of anything. But the way things um, have happened is that when you said I've been on LinkedIn all the time, I've always tried to keep my profile high
Yeah.
because um, I've always wanted to try and out in the business networking environment know that I'm the travel guy, because there's not that
Hmm.
many people in travel industry network. There's a couple, but not that many. Um, but I'm always there. I'm the travel guy. So when things do get better, if I've been around and I've kept in people's eye, then hopefully they'll then give me some business. Not as a
Absolutely.
for no other reason than surely now is the time to use a travel agent and
Hmm.
my services, because I've got a better chance of getting a refund and sort things out when things go wrong than anybody else does. And
Hmm.
things have gone wrong badly for people over the last year.
Yeah.
Um,
And I mean, it goes to, I mean, I say this, I'm pretty sure I say this in almost every podcast I do, but it comes down to, if you're not branding, you're selling, and if you're not selling, you're branding. So it's just that you're building that brand awareness of who you are and what it is that you do, and developing that trust with, the audience. So as you say, when things get back to whatever normal looks like, then, you're going to be front of mind, whenever they come to
and
book
and the
something.
customer's disappointment about not getting a holiday is reflected in us as well. I've now I was due to go away last summer with friends. There is a group of us that would often go away. Um, that got postponed till this year. We've already decided that this year's not going to happen. So that same holiday will then be put forward to 2022.
Hmm.
Yes, we might do an alternative, and we've got something particular, for a shorter period, sort of in the diary. But there is everybody disappoint me makes us as if they're the only one who's had a holiday cancelled. They haven't. Everybody's been in exactly the same boat, including
Hmm.
including me. So maybe I
Yeah.
will get that trip eventually. Third time lucky.
Is there somewhere that you haven't been, and you just you have that, you know you really need to go there, you would love to go there,
Oh,
but you've never had the opportunity?
sure. My bucket list is huge. My
Right.
bucket
Okay.
list is
Go.
massive. Um, I think. If you ever hear me say I'm off to Botswana, that is also, yes, I will be going to Botswana at some point. It's also a code to let you know I've won the lottery, just so that you're aware.
Right,
Because
okay.
it's very
Is it really
expensive.
expensive?
It's really expensive, but that's somewhere. But I'm really, really desperate to get to Vietnam. Believe it or not, I've never been.
Oh, right, okay.
I'm. It's such an easy destination to sell and put together, and I've got some great companies that I use in Vietnam for ground handlers. I've never been, and Sri Lanka as
Okay.
well, which I've got the most lovely ground handlers in Sri Lanka who I know personally and have known them for years. Used to see them every year at World Travel Market, and they'd bring you a gift, just because
Right, okay.
it's that kind of, not just because they had a big bag of them. It was that, I'm Colin, you're coming down. I'll look forward to seeing you, and I've brought you your gift. What's that about?
Fantastic.
So there's people and destinations that I want to go and visit. Sure, there is, and my list goes on and on and on.
Where have you been that you don't mind? See, my wife, she's as I say, she's so obsessed with travel. But there's a couple of places we don't mind going back to. Like we always go back to Italy. We got married in Italy, so we're constantly exploring Italy. Like every time we go back there, we've been to Sorrento a few times in the Amalfi Coast because that's where we got married. But we're always trying out different areas. But she generally is kind of the opinion that there's so many things out there to see. Why go back to the same place? And she never understands people who just go on holiday in the one location.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, but holidays are different things to different people, isn't it? So
Mhm.
it's so. Yeah, if you think about it, I've been to Malaysia 5 times, but I've
Okay.
never done exactly the same thing when I've been there. So it's always been about exploring something slightly different or doing something slightly different, and that includes going in the longhouse with the headhunters or going to the orangutan sanctuaries. I mean, it's not just staying in nice posh 5-star hotels. Um, Dubai, I've been to God knows how many times, but
Love Dubai.
that's all been business. Oddly enough,
Hmm.
I've never personally been to Dubai on holiday, but I've probably been 9 times, 9, 10 times.
Yeah. Well, Linda's daughter is out in the Middle East, so in Bahrain. So flying to Dubai to get to Bahrain. So we've been there quite a few times. I was just talking to somebody yesterday about Dubai. Um, it's kind of like stepping into the future. Just the way it looks and all that. The whole
It just changes so much.
yeah, it's never the
It's
same.
never the same. And between the first and second time that I went to Dubai, there was a 9 year gap,
Right. Oh, that
and
would be
and
massive.
it was huge, huge
Yeah.
change. But
Didn't they
you
develop the metro in that period? It
no,
wasn't
that
there
was
before.
even after that. When I first went to Dubai, there was a hotel called the Chicago Beach, which had just closed, and
Right.
that's where the Jumeirah Beach Hotel, the one
Yep.
on the beach side, but that's like the sail, and they were just putting some glass at the beginning of the Burj, the one that sits in the sail that's in the water.
Hmm.
So and then the next time I went, everything was. The Chicago Beach was knocked down. The Jumeirah Beach Hotel was there, up and operational. I mean, it was
Hmm.
just. But with Dubai, there's always Sheikh Zayed Road, and if there's something on Sheikh Zayed Road that you'll recognise, it's now 4 lanes wide, but there's always something you go,
Yeah.
I remember that sign or that hotel or something there.
Hmm.
But I love Dubai because it changes, and
Hmm.
I've had
Yeah.
some
I mean, it's
fantastic.
kind
I've
of
stayed in some fantastic properties in Dubai. It's just
it.
amazing.
Yeah. No, I mean, and it's kind of got an energy about it that's kind of it's a cross between Vegas and New York, and something else entirely, outer space. It's just it's just got this incredible buzz about it.
It runs at 100 miles an hour. And
Hmm.
then you've got Abu Dhabi further up the road. It runs at
Yeah.
60 miles an hour. They're only an hour and a
Yeah.
half difference, between the two of them. It's quite strange.
Yeah. But no, Dubai is definitely one we kind of want to get back to. We're talking about if it's possible in terms of like with restrictions and all that kind of thing. We'd love to try and get to. We're big fans of the F1, so and we've been to the Bahrain Grand Prix before, so we're wondering about trying to get to the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix at the end of the season.
Yep.
So
End
we
of
shall
the,
we
end
shall
of this
see.
this season?
Hmm.
This particular season?
Yeah.
Okay. Good luck.
Well, let's see. That's going to be December.
Yeah, it's always November, December, isn't it? It's always the last.
Yeah.
It's always
So
the last one, but it's one where tickets come out really, really early, and commitment is early.
Yeah, so maybe not this year.
Well, why don't we plan it for next year?
There's an idea. Absolutely. You can plan the Monte Carlo one for us as well.
No worries. For the Monaco Grand Prix.
Yeah, oh god, that would be amazing.
I can do that.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. My bank balance won't.
What's that got to do with it?
Yeah, exactly. Jesus. Yeah. So, what would you say is the thing that you're looking forward to most? Whenever we're getting back to travel, and actually being able to kind of go beyond, our locale.
Oh gosh, for me personally, I think this trip that I do with friends, if that comes off in August, that'll be just nice because as I said, there's a group of us, up to 12 of us would then normally spend some time in the Algarve,
Nice.
down there, and different people flying in and out at different times, and it's just, it's just fantastic. And we do have this week now planned because the trip we were going to do, as I say, we're not going to do it. And I'll see 8, maybe, if I can, but because I haven't seen them for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the only one in Scotland, you see, so any travel restrictions have meant I've not been able to see them, or no jabs and that kind of thing. So for me personally, that's going to be from a travelling point of view, the chance to see them again will be great because we have such a great relationship. From a customer point of view, just allowing people to go away and do what they want to do, and those who've got relatives overseas who, I've got people who are just desperate to go to Australia for Christmas and go and visit relatives who may not be around another year. People are getting old and they just can't get there. So if I could fulfill some of that, that would be fantastic. And even just a flight, I don't care. It's just that people need to go and visit their relatives and their friends, and that's really what it's all about, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. If you could give any advice to anybody who's thinking about traveling just now, what would be a sort of general sensible travel advice, not just for COVID, during this period of time, but maybe some just general travel tips that you think are always useful?
Check the rules. Make sure you understand them. Check the financial security of the people that you're booking with. It doesn't matter. Take me out of the equation. So regardless of where you're booking, make sure that if they go into liquidation or the third party, the suppliers are going into liquidation, that you can get your money back. Because that is still an issue today, of people booking with dodgy companies and money not getting paid back. And I know you say out of COVID rules, but COVID's going to be around here for a long time. It's going to affect us, and for goodness sakes, make sure you know all the rules around COVID, and there are many of them. You're not just checking on one place. You're not just checking to see whether the traffic light says you can go. That's only about bringing people back into this country. It's got nothing to do with really leaving this country. It's more about allowing people back in. You've still got to check the Foreign Office. You've still got to check the destination as well. There's 3 sets of rules that you have to try and apply just to go away at the moment. It's quite complex.
See, this is why someone like you is utterly necessary, Colin.
Sorry, Greg, what did you just say there?
I said this is why someone like you is utterly necessary.
Oh, God. Surely we come into our own. I mean, surely at the end of the day, the amount of access to resources, I know exactly. I've got access on our own in-house system, a booking system, to the Foreign Office. I've got direct access into the Foreign Office web pages and to the destination web pages, plus access into everything is there. Click a button, and I could find the information out. And it's the only way you're really going to know, surely, is somebody else who then has to take responsibility. Remember, these things, when we check them, we are then responsible. By law, we are responsible to make sure that we've given the correct information. If we've given the wrong information, you can take us to court. Not that we want to be being enforced by law, but that's the law. So it's really important. But if you've booked direct online, it's your responsibility. It's not the third party. It's not your tour operator. It's not your, let's say it's a package that you've bought online. It's not their responsibility to tell you the rules and regulations. It's your responsibility. Whereas you book with a travel agent, it's our responsibility. It flips completely on its head. So there's absolutely no reason not to know what you're going to do or what needs to be done if you speak to somebody like me.
So, Colin, if people are wanting to connect with you and find out more about who you are and what you do, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Oh gosh, you can contact me anyways. I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn. Email colin.shaw@travelcouncillors.com or dial 01698 442 890. That's my landline from my office.
You're going to be absolutely inundated with people.
I do hope so. Even if it's not for this year, the best thing you can do is plan for 2022 and let's get it in the diary.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Colin, thank you so much for joining me this morning. It's been a pleasure as always, sir.
Thank you.
And all the best going forward. And I'm looking forward to getting back to travel myself, it has to be said.
Me too.
Yeah. Right, I'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Thanks, Bill.